El Learning Lab by CertiProf es un espacio para promover y compartir el conocimiento con invitados que tienen la pasión por enseñar e instruir a las personas en su camino profesional.
Hello, everybody. Once again, welcome all of you on Zoom and LinkedIn Live. We are so happy to have you here once again in this new Learning Lab session by CertiProf. Today, we have the great pleasure to introduce you to Leonel Zapien, one of our partners worldwide, who's going to be talking and discussing about Scrum, the rules of the game. Leonel, how are you?
Hello, Santiago. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited being here, and I'm so glad to see you all here. Truth be told, we were so eager. We were planning about this session in advance for the last 2 weeks. So it will be a pleasure to talk about a lot agility in general, but also very specific, talking about Scrum.
Great, thank you. Just for all of our attendees, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them on the chat. We'll be addressing those questions throughout the session, and of course on the chat as well. Leonel, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will share my screen. Give me a second. Or let me shift my view. Ready. Can you please confirm you can see my screen?
Yes. Perfect.
Okay. Perfect. Great. So, well, welcome everybody. Thank you, Santiago, to all the CertiProf team, to the Learning Lab experience for the invitation. We are so glad to have you here in this session. We're all talking about Scrum today. Okay. Well, first of all, before starting, the session today is Scrum, the rules of the game. Okay. I want this to be really a conversation instead of a presentation show. There will be times when we'll be asking you to open the mics, the microphones, so we can hear you and share a few ideas. At the end of the session, we have the part of the question and answer. Regarding to that, let's start a little bit with the Scrum. I will introduce a little bit myself. My name is Leonel Zapien. I'm from Mexico. I am passionate really about agility. When I met her agility, it was love at first sight. I was so afraid to admit it, but it was the case. During this journey, during this road, nowadays I'm an agilist. So I have an electronics and computer engineering, a master of applied informatics. Then I did a master of applied in business administration. I continue in the IT area for several years. I have been developer, network administrator, service administrator, and so on. Then I moved, and now I have my digital experience in agility. I have my digital experience, and I've been working with teams in the US, Asia, and most of the countries of Latin America. I am an agile and lean consultant and facilitator, and I have 51 international certifications, Scrum, Kanban, Management 3.0, PMI, etc. And I have the license to be a trainer for Management 3.0 and also Scrum. But the most difficult about this, and also the most enlightening experience, is that I'm trying to be a very good agilist daddy. Okay? That's so difficult, but I really love it. Let's start. I will share on the chat link for this parking lot. This parking lot is an area where you can post all your doubts and your questions about the session. Okay, we can read them, and also you are very welcome to write down your doubt that you may have over there. Okay, I will use the link and please feel free to share it. Well, with no other delay, let's start with the presentation. Okay. First of all, what is a project? What is a project? I mentioned this, with the focus on project, even though we are going to see that with Scrum nowadays, we talk about product, but we need to know with everything started. So if someone is, would like to share with us, if you can you share in the chat, or maybe open the microphone is allowed. Can you please share what do you understand about the project, what a project is? Maybe a key ideas, a few key points about that. Well, Ezequiel mentions a set of human elements with a goal to complete that requirement. Thank you, Ezequiel, for sharing. And I really mentioned a very specific keywords on that. A group of people, the human elements, a goal, a common and shared word, goal, and also the need, they have to complete a requirement. With that, you mentioned a lot of the main ideas of what a project is. So just for a definition, this presentation won't be that full of definition, but this is from the book directly. Project, the PMI Institute says, it's a temporary endeavor undertaken to create a unique product. Product, it could be a service or a result, okay? It also mentions that because it has a temporary nature, project indicates that it has a beginning and an end of the project. So a project cannot continue for a long time. It starts and it stops. A project could be 1 week length, or 1 week length, but also if you remember previous decades ago, centuries ago, when they were building cathedrals, it used to take maybe 100, 120 years. It was a long time, but also even then, it was a project. So if it lasts so long, it doesn't mean that it's not a project. Just we have to have a clear scenario when the project has to be complete, when it has to be done. If not, it's a continuous operation. Okay. Based on that, I will start with a little story. I love stories. So before starting on theory about Scrum, I will share this with you. Okay. It was the year 2001. 2001, after September 11th in the US, imagine the impact that it has in the whole country, in the whole world. The problems, it was that the Congress was really worried. The US was really worried about if this event could have been avoided, maybe. So they questioned to the FBI, which say, you are the intelligence of our country. Why you didn't know in advance that maybe that could happen? So with the research, the conclusion was simple. The FBI had outdated information systems. They used to do a lot of paperwork. Then someone captured the keywords, used files, physical files, tons and tons of paper. But the FBI said, okay, I have the solution. We will implement a system which name will be virtual case file. If it has a name, the first attempt it will be, do not worry, we have a solution. After 3 years of project, 3 years and $170 million, the project was canceled without a working software. Okay? So the Congress, the pressure was high. The Congress was pressuring to the FBI. So they said, okay, you have a second attempt. It was now the year 2005. FBI said, okay, we have now a new project. The project is called Sentinel. For this time, we are going to be an outsourcing company, contractor. We just need 4 years and $450 million. The Congress evaluated the situation with the option and said, okay, let's do it. By 2010, it is 5 years later, they have spent $405 million, and they were 1 year behind schedule, according to the plan. The title of the second attempt will be something like, oops, I did it again. But they will say one more time. They rejoin. They made a new plan, and they say, we need a new version of this plan. We need 6 to 8 more years and another $350 million to complete the software. If we analyze this information like a summary, the time and cost invested in this initiative was 8 years and more than $500 million for an unfinished product. And the remaining time and cost estimated to complete this project was 6 to 8 years and another $350 million. Total, we're talking about 14 to 16 years and almost $1 billion. This is huge. We're talking about a huge impact, not just what the software could have in the security of the nation, but also the investment, all the resources, okay? It was done in a predictive approach. The third attempt, they were all desperate. So in this desperation, they were looking for something different. It was called the last hope, like Star Wars. Okay, by 2010, first of all, for this third attempt, they contract to an outsourcing company. They say the first thing we need to do is reduce the amount of people to this project. This is too much people for this project. So they reduced the headcount from 250 just to 50. Okay? By 2012, I mean 2 years later, the project was completed. The product was done and working. It requires only 2 years and $99 million. Of course, we are talking about still a fortune, almost $100. But if you compare two, this one was done with an adaptive approach using Scrum. We're going to see what adaptive approach is, but what I want you to remember is that it was done with Scrum. With predictive approach, they require maximum 16 years versus Scrum 2 years to complete the product. And they spent almost $1 billion with predictive, but it was the plan. And with the Scrum, they spent less than $100. That's the amazing difference between using two different approaches. And that's why knowing about agility, and Scrum is really, really important. So, in a nutshell, predictive approach is where you have different stages or phases that you have to complete one after the next one. You have the beginning of a project, you start planning what you are going to do, all the requirements, you talk with the customers, then you do the design part. What is going to be done, then you construct the coding if you are talking about software, but you build the product. And after all these stages, the client sees the final product. The product, what he's waiting for, he knows the product until the end. Okay? This is the predictive approach because we are trying to foresee in advance all the requirements, all the risks, all the circumstances that could emerge during the project. This is known as waterfall because it looks like a waterfall. Okay, why do you think, I can read you the chat, a few words, a few keywords. Why do you think that was the reason, or maybe one of the reasons, that the first two attempts failed? Talking about this specific case of the APA. What do you think? I would like to read you. Scope, Carlos mentioned scope missing, risk management, not done properly, risk management very powerful. Ezequiel mentions maybe they noted defects or bugs too late in the cycle. All those are real important possibilities. In fact, it means show you what I'm going to do. Scope creep. Well, here I see a lot of very important project content. The important key, what that I would like to share with you, is that we have, or we can maybe set two kind of causes for this failing. First one, inner causes to the company, to the team, and the second one, causes from the outside, from the environment, outside of the team. Okay. If we can talk about inner causes, it could be something like you mentioned, the quality of the product they produce, Ezequiel mentioned, books, defect, scope creep, scope missing, mentioned Carlos. Okay. First of all, they were building software. Software, by definition, is complex. Frederick Brooks has a book where he mentioned that. Software is really complex. Complex doesn't mean that we are building it and it's difficult. That's complicated. Complex means that you are trying to create a desired behavior, a desired result, and generate an impact from something that is really abstract. To get that in code, that's complex. Okay? That's an inner element, what I'm talking about. So this file, virtual case file, the free software of the API, the requirements were like 50, 60 centimeters of paper. Imagine reading this size of paper. Unbelievable. The structure, the way they communicate, the tools they have. And one is that is really important, and I think they should give that kind of information at the university. It will be really helpful to avoid failing projects. Yes, in the future. The problem with these guys is that we are not able to foresee what the future is going to happen. All these things are from the outside. What affects our work? Maybe the technology changed, the legal policies changes, the environment, the competitors, whatever. All those stuff affects our project. Our environment nowadays is known as VUCA or BANG. VUCA stands for volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And BANG stands for brittle, anxious, nonlinear, and incomprehensible. This is to let you know that there are so many linked variables that could affect company, market, or even a product. But all this is the context. All this to let you know why Scrum. So instead of this approach, what we do in Scrum, we have a very small cycle. All these phases interact within the cycle. Okay? Not in waterfall, they interact with each other. This is known as sprint. Okay? We have the requirement, we have the work we plan to do, we estimate to do for this sprint, and we create something. We build something useful, something that the client, the customer can see, can touch, can do click on it. Useful. this case, this sprint is 1 month maximum length. So you can create an increment and a small piece of product in maximum 1 month. Why this is important? Because after this month, the client will get the product and it can give feedback. It can get you feedback, provide you what Ezequiel mentioned. They are tickets or bugs. Now here, we can see there is a defect. Okay, so let's talk about the rule of the game. First, I want to clarify that we haven't defined what Scrum is. I gave you the context, but here's the first rule. Scrum employs an iterative and incremental approach. Instead of trying to predict everything in advance, Scrum does a sprint with requirements and builds an increment. The next sprint will continue adding features or functionalities to that increment. So when the client or the customer see the product, it gave you feedback. And we introduce the feedback to the next cycle, to the next sprint, and so on. That iterative, every iteration is a sprint, and incremental. We are building the small pieces of product every sprint. In a nutshell, in a few minutes, that's how Scrum works. Okay? So now, what is Scrum? Let's go with the definition. First of all, I would like to clarify, just in case you can't hear that somewhere, Scrum is not a methodology. Scrum is a framework. It's a huge difference between both. It means that talking about methodology is a very specific set of steps. What you have to do in every case, in every situation, what tool, what techniques. Scrum is a framework because the creators of Scrum gave you the guides, the main guides, but they do not tell you how to do it. They do not go to specific detail. They say the Scrum is purposefully incomplete because they want you to know, to explore how to do all the stuff. A methodology, as an example, for a methodology could have between 400 or 500 pages. The Scrum Guide is the official source of Scrum, has only 14 pages. That's why it's so great, because it's a framework. The Scrum comes from the rugby. That's Scrum, that formation that both teams do to get the possession of the ball, because we want to advance as a team, not as an individual. If all the teams have the ball, we all can advance faster and stronger. And that's why the poetry of Scrum, okay? We go together as a team. We got the ball in. Now, we'll start with a few rules for Scrum. This one says, rather than provide people with detailed instructions, Scrum guide the interactions. We want the people to interact, the relationships, to talk between them. It is more effective, more quickly than sending an email, than giving a detailed procedure how to do that. That's the first step. That's why I mentioned again, it's not a methodology. The Scrum Guide, this is the link, is the unique and official source of Scrum. It's updated regularly, usually between every 2 or 3 years. The last one is from November 2020. Okay? It was created by Jeff Turolan and Ken Trevor. So you take a look. The Scrum Guide is free. You can download it. And that's very important. When you look for an institution, when you want to train or learn about the Scrum in a school, the only thing I can give you as a piece of advice, make sure that the program they have is based on the Scrum Guide. Because there are somewhere a few schools, a few certifications that are not based on the Scrum Guide. And that's really important. What you are learning when it's not the Scrum Guide, it's not the official way of working Scrum. Now, with all this context, Now, from the guide, that's the definition of Scrum. I like to highlight it as 4 key areas. Okay. Scrum is a lightweight framework, not a methodology, a framework, lightweight, which is used to produce or look for see to create value to the customer, to the company, to create value, okay? Is for adaptive solution. We inspect and adapt, we learn in short cycles to create or to solve complex problems, okay? Complex problems, we have a lot of elements that could affect unexpected results. In this case, I was talking about how is complex. Okay. That's how Scrum works. And it's very light, very small, you can say, lightweight, because it could help as a container for other tools, methods, methodologies. So you can use Scrum as a base and adding maybe some metric for Kanban, some tools for management 3.0, some risk assessment from PMI. You can enrich this framework. And the creators say, you respect the base of Scrum. Don't change, don't remove anything, but you can add something on top of it if it works for you, according to your content, okay? Well, the definition of Scrum. Talking about the rules, it could be long, because there are a lot of rules, but I want to emphasize on the main principle, okay? So one of the main principles is Scrum founded on empiricism. Empiricism, can you write down in the chat, what do you understand or what do you think that empiricism means? When you do something by empiricism, when you learn something by empiricism, what do you think? How do you think you learn about that? What it could mean for you? Something maybe that based on our experience, mentioned Ezequiel. Exactly. Thank you for sharing. We're talking about complexity, okay? So there is no a methodology or only way to work. It says you have to work and learn from your experience. Tracy mentioned, it means whatever knowledge you have is based on your experience. Exactly. Thank you for sharing, Tracy. I always mention that my mom used to tell me, don't play around the stove when I told him. It had, he said that like 200 times, but the moment I got burned, I understood what it means, and by experience, I learned that. So Scrum is based on that. So we are talking about complexity. A lot of elements affecting the problem, the product we are trying to create or to solve. So the three pillars of Scrum are the critical process, are transparency. The relevant information has to be visible for all the stakeholders. Okay, how the thing is advancing? Do you have any impediments? Is there any risk that could be concrete? Could be an impediment now? Are there any dependencies with other team, with other person, whatever? All the stuff that has to be visible. The second pillar is inspection. With that information, we have to inspect. It's the base to solve decisions, informed decisions. Okay, in this sprint, which could be maybe 1 week or 1 month long, we're facing this problem. We have to solve it right now and avoiding carry on this problem to the next. That fostering the learning cycles and adaptation based on what we have seen, what we have expected, the information we have, what are we going to do? Okay, that's feedback loops so quickly. The second rule is the Scrum has 3 roles. Okay, 3 roles, no more than that. The third one is the Scrum Master. The Scrum Master is the servant leader of the team. He doesn't have a formal position. I mean, as a leader, well, as a boss. It's a leader, but not a boss. Okay, it serves the team, the Scrum team, help them to remove impediments. He's the one who knows how to apply Scrum. So he learned, he taught, teach to the other organization and to the team how to apply Scrum. But also open team, because as a Scrum Master, you have to go with the managers, with the C-levels, to let them know, of course, with the according level of detail, what the Scrum team do. They have to understand the context of how the team works and what the advantage, the disadvantage, what we are facing and learning. Okay? He's the one who do that. He's helping the team avoiding problems. So let them focus on development. The second role is the product owner. He is, as someone said, then also the client. He goes to the client, to the customer, talk to them, and get the requirements. Is the only point of contact and give requirements to the team. I talk to the customer and he would like to see the functionality, this feature. Is that possible? Do we have the technology to do that? Whatever is required. Okay. But also it talks to all the stakeholders. You have to keep informed to managers, to key levels about the product progress, but also they could be decisions that he's not able to take. Maybe he has to go with the legal department, with the marketing area, etc. But take all this information in consideration for taking the best decision for the product that they are building. Or again, he can get information, request information. In fact, he will need it. But he's the only one who can provide and accept what is going to be done, because the product has to be done the way the product owner makes. So that's why it's important it has a strong communication with the stakeholders, including customer and client, and the developer. They want to build the product. They build, they test whatever is needed, talking about in a technical way. So the product is inside the developer. All these three roles are known as the Scrum team. There are no hierarchies in the team. Any role is more important than the other ones, and they work a unit. As I mentioned with the photo from the book, they all advance together as a team. Okay. Outside the team, there are some stakeholders, some actors that you need to take in consideration. Keep them informed. Foment the transparency. But they do not make decisions inside the company. Scrum has some values. The 5 is openness, courage, focus. This one is, I'm writing on the slide. Apertura, honesty, foco, apertura, foco, compromiso y coraje para todo. Apertura, compromiso, foco. Those are the values. Sorry that I was writing in Spanish. The values are there to provide a solid foundation. It means we're not talking about just techniques. We're talking about human people with feeling, with value, and we have to provide this value to foster the values in order to don't have an empty, because what people do is important. The next rule, Scrum has 5 events, not more, not less. Every event has a specific purpose and time bound. Here is a lot more detail. I would explain the events and the more in a more generic way without too many technical details. Okay, but there is something like this pile of requirements. Well, have to be built. All the requirements have to be built. Okay, we start with sprint planning. It's the first event. We plan what we think we can do in the sprint. Okay, this requirement list was defined in the coordination with the customer. Remember that the product owner does that, but he talks with the customer. So the team plan what they have capacity to do and define a goal for that sprint according to what they are going to build. Those requirements, there are a small set of requirements to be done for the sprint. All the phases interact, they build, they plan, they test. And every single day of the sprint, they have a meeting or an event called Daily Scrum. They inspect and adapt every single day. Every single day, do I have impediments? How we are going according to the sprint goal. After the sprint was complete, it could be maximum 1 month, I mentioned, we have an increment product. We review that product in an event named sprint review. In a sprint review, we invite stakeholders, customer, and client. It's important that either they can see at first hand the product we build. Okay? So with that information, we use it as a feedback loop. And after that, the last event of the sprint is the retrospective, when we talk about how we work, how we perform during the sprint, what lessons we learned, what problems we face, what feedback gave the client, the customer, how can be better, how can advance with a faster play. All the lessons we learn have to be with action items to be introduced to the next sprint. So we are reinforcing that feedback loop that I mentioned. There are 4 events. I mentioned 5. The 5th element is the sprint. The sprint is a container of the other sprints. It means that all these events that I mentioned, the review, retrospective, the planning, and the daily scrum, has to occur only within one sprint. In a nutshell, that's the idea of Scrum. But there are, we talk about the roles. The orange boxes are the events, but there is something missing, the artifact. Scrum has 3 artifacts. The artifacts are the product pack. This pile of requirements that I mentioned before, it has a name. The name is product backlog. During the planning, I mentioned that the teams estimate what amount of work can create according to their capacity. This list of requirements here. This is the sprint backlog. And what we deliver at the end of the sprint is those 3 elements are the 3 artifacts that Scrum has. Is the most technical words that I want to give you, then the naming can be not that tricky, but the idea here is to understand what the idea outcome is. That every event has a purpose, every artifact has a purpose, is to show the relevant information, to foster transparency, to help the team inspect and adapt. Another goal of the game is alignment. Focus. I want to clarify that because it's very important. We have been talking that every sprint we deliver an increment of product, right? It has to be aligned with the sprint goal that we define for the sprint. The sprint goal is co-created between the whole team. Okay, the product owner could have an idea according with what is important for the client or customer to receive here, and they define sprint goal. So it helps because it's like a guide. Everything that we do in this sprint has to be aligned with this goal. Every iteration, we have to keep focused on that. Okay? But all the goals, all the sprint goals has to be aligned with something known as the product goal. The Scrum Guide mentioned that we are not just iteration after iteration without any direction. Because we know in advance or weekend. We know we are going to go. So we need to every sprint inspect and adapt. An example I mentioned here, we define a sprint goal and iterate. After getting feedback, we are adjusting. We are adjusting the direction we are heading to. Okay, because there could be bugs, there could be new information, new needs that could emerge after the client see the functionality. But all the sprint goals be aligned with a product goal. It's like the North Star. It guides you. The product goal is mentioned. Scrum Guide said, "If the future state of the product of the service we are planning to reach, okay, then is where we are going to." And almost the least, the last one, Scrum. This is not a rule. I mentioned that because to reinforce what I mentioned about the rule. Scrum mentions that the Scrum framework, as outlined herein is the Scrum Guide, is immutable. Okay, while implementing only parts of a Scrum is possible, what you get is not Scrum. Okay, if you not do it like if you don't do it like it is mentioned here with the 3 roles, with the 3 artifacts, and with the 5 events, being the purpose of every event, all that stuff, correct, and working as it is stated, it could count up, but it's not Scrum. And at the end of the Scrum Guide, they mention Scrum works really well. What I mentioned before, you can complement the Scrum with other techniques, methodologies, or practices because it doesn't tell you how to work, how to empower the team, how to self-manage, make our team self-manage. But also, I talk about some rules. I want to talk to you about something I don't know if you have heard about this before, named Scrum. It's from that. It's like an answer. It means it was like kind of hilarious or funny when I heard this in advance. But the Scrum bot are documented. It means something that avoid that the team get the maximum performance of Scrum. If there is a problem, so the team, instead of modifying the root cause or attacking the root cause to remove the problem, they modify Scrum. So the problem is anymore a problem. Okay. So there are very hilarious could be Scrum bot. Let me show you. It has a very specific structure. Scrum bot says, okay, we use Scrum, but an anti-pattern, something that has not been done, and then patient or a workaround, how they solve the problem. Look for like blocks for our Scrum bot. For example, we use Scrum as our team, but there are too much topics to talk about during the daily Scrum. The daily Scrum is the event that we have every single day to inspect and adapt. It has to last maximum 15 minutes, according to the Scrum Guide. So this team says we have to talk about. Instead of 15 minutes, we do it in 45 minutes. Another Scrum bot could be we use the Scrum, but we had too much work at the end of sprint, and we skip the retrospective. We don't have time for that. So we avoid the retrospective and we keep working. So if you avoid the retrospective, you are killing the feedback loop. And all that stuff is kind of anti-pattern. That's why. If you do this, according to the guide, you are not using the Scrum as a prescribed. So this is not Scrum. We use the Scrum, but having a daily Scrum and even every single day is too much. So we have one per week. Yeah. We use a Scrum, but we don't need a Scrum Master. It's too expensive to pay one Scrum Master, so the developers do part of the duty of a Scrum Master. That one, well, that one I bring today. We have a Scrum, but our customer is too busy, so he or he is not able to attend sprint review. No, we'll send it up PowerPoint presentation with image of the product we create. Okay. If the product is not shown directly to a customer or user in the sprint review, it no sense because we are avoiding that direct feedback on the user or customer. Okay. That's the idea of the Scrum Bot. So the same way we have kind of rules, we will have a lot of infinite anti-rules or anti-patterns. Okay. And with that, I'm covering what I mentioned about the Scrum rules, the rules of the game. But I bring two more that you will not find them on Scrum Guide. But I think it's really helpful, not just in Scrum, but also in any context. Talking about empiricism, agility, we have to be open to experimentation. I call this one my role of the game. Okay? Be open to experimentation. We have to learn, we have to know that we can fail, but the important is the validated lesson that we got. So while do that, please enjoy, learn, have fun during the process. Try to create that with your teams. And the last rule of the rules I bring today, be patient, love what you do, and everything will flow in the best way. Because that idea is not just for doing Scrum. If we do what we love, if we do it with passion, we transmit that passion, and everything will flow. I promise that. With that, my friends, I complete all the topics that I wanted to bring today, talking about some rules of the game about Scrum. For this part, I would like to, if you have any question, any answer, I don't know, Santiago, if we are allowed to see what is happening on the field for the questions. Also, we can take a look to the parking lot and let's see if there is maybe a shop.
Yeah, I'll give you a hand if we receive any questions on the box.
Okay.
Let's see.
I don't see, I see the parking lot empty. Okay.
We got a question on the chat. Ezequiel Garcia is asking if is there any size team recommended to apply Scrum?
A point. Thank you, Ezequiel, for asking. Yes, according to the Scrum Guide, it mentioned maximum 10% for all the Scrum team. Okay, it is. There are many studies that show that smaller teams are more efficient. But also, if you are too small, you may not have all the required technical rules to build the product unit. Okay, just take as minimum rules you need technically, but no more than 10. But no more than 10, including the product owner and the Scrum Master. The whole Scrum team has to be maximum 10%. Okay, that's why. Why? Because also when the team is too big, it really complicated the communication. Okay? It takes longer to have agreements, all the stuff. That's why it's really important have a more team. So,
thank you. We got a question on the box. Erika Finn, she's asking. I think that's more likely for me if they will be able to watch recording later. Yes, for all of you who may be wondering, we'll be uploading this session on our LinkedIn profile as well as YouTube later on. But just we'll be giving you updates on social media about that. We have some other questions on the chat. Maria Camila, she's asking, what if sprint ends and the team has not finished the goal?
okay, thank you very much, Maria, for your question. It's a possibility. It could happen for sure. In fact, I have seen that. First of all, if the team has not delivered to the customer, we're talking about transparency. We have to open our cards and say, we didn't complete the product we estimate. Okay, that's the first action, and we have to say why. We have to do analysis and good causality and foresee what happened. Okay, that's why we have the retrospective after the sprint review, after we show the product. Okay, so during the retrospective, we have to run out what's happening. Was there any problem? Was maybe one of the team members was sick, was day off, whatever, and it affected the performance. Let's see what happened. The root cause, when you are seeing a root cause, you have to identify that there could be the usual affections to your system and special. The special are all your hand. You didn't foresee that a crash on the server was going to happen, that whatever that affect you. The regular autos have to be eliminated during the retrospective. That's why you have to escalate to the Scrum Master. We have this impediment, we don't have the license, this is not what we need, whatever it is required. It could be, yes, it happens, yes, especially with novel teams. When the teams are learning, it's more common that it happens. But after the team gets stronger as it matters, it will not, the possibility of this happening is lower. The key point is showing transparency, don't avoid in review, don't avoid in the perspective. Reinforce those steps, Maria, to try to avoid that could happen again. So that's the reason of retrospective, Maria.
Thank you very much, Leonel and Maria, for your question as well. We got another one by Carlos Martinez. He's asking if it's possible to combine Scrum with another strategy, let's say project management, for example, use PM for a project and for developments needed in that project if we can use Scrum in that context.
Okay, very interesting, Carlos. As I mentioned before, Scrum is a container. Any other practices. You can say, I can add risk management from PMI, I can get Kanban metrics, I can make whatever is needed. First of all, the Scrum Guide allows. Okay. The second one, what could you add to your team? It's very interesting because we all exist in projects environment. What I mean, we all work in projects. This project has this product as purpose. Okay. But we have to focus on the key metrics. I'm going to type on the chat that the triple restriction of a project is scope, time, give me a second, time, and budget. Okay? Those three are the constraints of a project. You have to create a project within the scope, within the time you accord, and the budget, okay? But the question is, Carlos, what did you build a product? I respect all the constraints within the budget, on time, and with the according scope. But the product that you create is not used. It doesn't help the final user. It doesn't solve any real problem. Was it a successful project or not? Because if you measure it like a project, the three constraints were accomplished. But the focus of the product not solving the real need. So what is powerful for that, Carlos? We need those metrics because we live in projects. Okay? You have to manage those constraints, but you have to add to the Scrum team some key metrics to understand if the product that you are delivering are adding real value to the customer. Okay? And that's the question, because you can complement with that. You can complement, go to the stakeholder, what to the customer, define the budget, get the list. All that stuff are outside of the scope of Scrum. Okay? You can use whatever technique you need. But once you start building with Scrum, you have the product on mind. You have to focus not on delivering a project and delivering a product. It means using their constraints, but focus on the project, on the product story, adding real value and solving a real need. That's a powerful combination about Scrum and other methods or methodologies like PMI, like in this case, you mentioned. After you complete your product, maybe you closure your project as usual, and that's it. Next project, next product. What do you think, Harold? Was it helpful?
Thank you very much, Leonel. We got another question on the chat box. I'm sorry, on the question box. Tracy Wilson is asking if is there any material we, the new Scrum Masters, could use to practice all the events and the artifacts?
Well, to practice, not really, but I think about material, there are a lot of, let me type it here on the chat, COT. There are a lot of communities of practice. In fact, I started in one of the communities. If you join to maybe communities like are outside there, like I was mentioned PMI, but a lot of communities have of this kind of event, community of practice, when you can go there and practice in a safe environment. For other tip, Tracy, there is no way to practice the events, but just doing it. What I'm going to mention is really important. You might find over there a lot of software tools to facilitate the retrospectives or the planning, whatever. It could be helpful, but my recommendation is do it in the cheapest and easiest way. You can post it, do an Excel file, whatever. Because if you know how to do that, how to practice without tools, when you have a tool, it will be easier for you. Otherwise, you will learn how to do it by the basics. There are no material for that, but according to that, these two books I have here, I could send you the information. A Scrum book, Spirit of the Game by Jeff Tuderland, and in 30 Days by Ken Schreiber and Jeff Tuderland are full of cases, an idea that could give you an idea to start practicing maybe this event. My suggestion, find international or local community practice at the neighborhood, on internet or LinkedIn. There are a lot of communities you can join. Most of them are by volunteering, and you can practice there. I'm part of a few communities of those. It's really helpful.
And then we are zombie. All right. I think, yeah. Thank you, Leonel, for addressing all of those questions so efficiently. We really appreciate your support and you sharing the knowledge with our community. This time talking about Scrum. I think we don't have any other questions on the box. So I really, on behalf of CertiProf, want to thank you for your great support, for being here with us, sharing your knowledge, your experience working with Scrum. And we are so happy and so honored to have you as one of our partners worldwide. Thank you very much. And
Santiago, I'm allowed because I have a final dynamic. It's like minutes long.
sure.
Go
ahead.
Yeah. Everyone, I propose a very brief dynamic called proposing. Okay. It's a technique that you can use as a facilitator when you work with your teams. It's from one of the liberated instructors called Matt. Okay. The idea is pretty simple. Let's see. You will see on screen an incomplete phrase. A takeaway from this session is, so you have to write down on the chat the first idea that comes to your mind without thinking too much. Okay? And whatever, an example, a takeaway on idea or learning you take away from this section could be, you can say maybe one word, maybe one, two words, what you will write. What do you write? First thing that came to your mind. Or let's see. Framework, okay, la one. Framework, clarificante, clarifying. Okay, thank you. That's the idea. Sprint, take away, sprint. Got it. Thank you very much. That's the idea. Put it simple. Just one more question, okay? Increment, MVP. Exactly, Carlos Major. Every increment could be an MVP, minimum viable product. According to this example, let's continue with the full more screen. To me, Scrum helps us to create products, learn, complexity. What do you think? Deliver product faster, Carlos, match, deliver team, improve performance, okay? Performance, learning, products, all the stuff. Pretty cool for sharing. Thank you very much. Deliver product faster. Okay, thank you, Brady. Something I would like to apply is work with human, not process. No? Powerful. Something that I would like to apply is what I learned today, maybe increments, not hierarchies, system fostering transparency, fostering learning loops. What do you say about something I would like to apply or what we learned today? Work as a team to work together like rock. That's that idea powerful instead of a career like talking. Okay, right, Carlos? And the last two ones are in one word. At the beginning of this talk, I used to feel weird, green, nervy, what do you think? In one word, stress. Stress, Juan Carlos said. Curious, right? Curious. Okay, great. For sharing. And think your word, because the last question is, at the end of this talk, I feel, one word, say, more starving? No. What do you say? Inspired, motivated, yeah, knowledgeable. Oh, word, motivated. Great. It's like you can see it's a very brief. It can check out see how the team is after session. Thank you very much. I really thank you a lot. And I will hand the microphone and the screen to you, Santiago. Thank you very much.
No, thank you very much once again, Leonel, and thank you for all of the attendees who were participating, interacting, and leaving their questions on the chat. It really helps us a lot to